Good evening. I am Tanya Gallo, and this is Andy Myers, and we are the co-founder and directors of the Living City Project. And this evening, we will be talking to you about our City Gap program, which is our gap year program that's based here in New York City for young people 18 to 22 who've either decided to take a semester off from college or are taking a gap year before attending college.
So I think if there's one thing which distinguishes our program from others is that we see New York City as a classroom. Basically, whenever we can, whenever our partners and the weather permits, we are out in the city doing field work, engaging with partners who may be in city government or advocacy work or environmental organizations. And we experience the city as a classroom, as a studio, and as our community, doing projects that address the urgent challenges facing the city.
And I think what makes our program unique is that we are very much addressing questions and challenges and issues that are facing New York City at this moment. So, particularly where we are right now, slowly emerging out of the pandemic, we're looking at how New York City is rebuilding and reemerging, and that cuts across many different issues and topics. And we really provide an opportunity for students to find questions that they're really interested in solving during the semester they're with us.
We won't go through everything on every slide, but we'll touch upon what we see are the most relevant points. And I think on this one, it's really about the fact that we support both independent work and group work. And so we have a group project that we determined collectively. And we also have personal projects where you're able to pursue your own passions or discover passions in the city.
And a really important part of how we do those projects is working with partners throughout the city. So we have relationships set up with expert practitioners in many different fields that touch on the kind of projects that we'll be doing. But we also create opportunities for young people to actually develop and find partners in the areas that they would like to focus in. And many times those relationships end up becoming people that you can get an internship with in the future, or get a job, or become mentors even once you leave our program. And here's just some sort of values that are connected to why we do the program and that we sort of inform the mission. All the work we do is hands-on. It's very connected to students' lives. It's always place-based. We're always out in the city connecting to place. It's empowering for young people. It's relevant to students' lives and to current issues, and it's experiential.
We look at the city through what we call our 5 living city lenses. The form of the city permits us to look at architecture and planning and the way that the city is laid out, the city grid, the infrastructure, and to master the transportation system. The resilient city is where we look at questions of environmental justice, questions of waterfront resilience and flooding and energy, and do work which actually engages with questions of sustainability. The just city is where we look at equity and social justice, and questions of how the New York City can sustain and thrive through diversity and equity. There are many questions about the stories we tell about the city, and in the City of Memory, we look at memorials and the kinds of voices which are represented that may not have been represented in the past through City of Memory. And then finally, New York City is both a crucible for creativity and is a product of creativity. So in the City of Creativity, we look at art and culture and theater and how the city relates to those experiences.
And here we'll go through the next couple of slides quickly because I know we're coming on time soon, but here are just some examples of projects. We use these as just getting, young people's juices flowing about thinking about what's possible, but it really can be whatever questions students are really interested in solving. But here's some examples of projects that we have done. And you can see here This is just a huge list that we use as kind of a jumping off point. Often students don't do these exact projects, but it's just a way to think about what's possible and the range of topics and areas that we can focus on and the partners that we can connect with throughout the city.
And finally, outcomes. These depend upon the kind of person you are, but in almost all cases, our time in the city is a transformative experience. You can either go deeply into the passions that you have or discover new ones. You make lifelong friends with the peers in the program, and you engage in projects that really have an impact on the world.
And, you know, this is also an opportunity to develop life skills. You're living independently for the first time, kind of managing the city independently and with the group. And so it's giving you an opportunity for that as well. And to create a real project. We've had students create podcasts, you know, websites, books. So you really come away with an actual product from the learning you've done in this semester.
And last but not least, practical information, much of which you can find on our website, livingcityproject.com. It's a relatively straightforward application process. It's mostly for us to learn more about you so that we can tailor the experience to your passions and interests. And there's the other information. We also have housing in a fantastic space with a partner educational housing service in Brooklyn Heights.